Hello, my name is Simon Miller from WhatCulture Wrestling. Welcome to SmackDown Ups and Downs. And it is my privilege and it is my honor to introduce to you a little short film that I've made entitled How a Wrestler Would React to Music in Real Life. Hey, yes, Steve, my friend, my man, look, absolutely, we've got to make that transaction today. We have to get that deal done. If we do not sort this out, That's right, if you want to freak out any professional wrestler, just push play on an entrance theme, somebody somewhere just gonna go absolutely crazy. Happens all the time. It tickles me pink. Let's up those downs. SmackDown started with Pat McAfee telling us, hey, Michael Cole, well done for 25 years on the job. And apparently within that time, he's only missed 2 shows. Now, I don't know if that is true, but it's absolutely crazy. And I think Cole has too much of a hard time. I mean, not only does he have to use a version of the English language made up by some crazy person, but he also just has to drop buzzwords constantly. Difficult. Soon the New Day were out and Xavier Woods was literally dressed like a king, so I was having a great time. And they started talking about their feud with the Brawling Brutes starting this Friday on the Cartoon Network. And of course, because they had beaten these guys 7 days ago along with Drew McIntyre, they told Drew McIntyre to come out. Drew also shouted out Big E, and I would like to do that as well. I hope he is getting better, and I cannot wait to see him back in a wrestling ring. McIntyre from nowhere went, oh yeah, by the way, at Clash of the Castle, I want to take on Roman Reigns and become the champ. What? That's 3 months away. 3 meaning surely Roman Reigns isn't coming back for a long ass time. So my big question is always, why do we make him the champ? Like we could have just made him the champ and made somebody else the champ, meaning we'd still have a champ on our shows. See? We then dubbed him Big D for obvious reasons, and because of that, Drew McIntyre decided he wanted to make a bunch of dick jokes. Don't shoot me, I'm just the messenger. And even though the New Day tried to calm him down, honestly, McIntyre was obsessed. He just wanted to talk about thrusting his penis in a certain direction. And the way that we did get through this is that the New Day gave him a pair of pants. Well, it wasn't really pants, it was a pair of shorts and they said Big D on them. So I suppose this also tied into the groinal humor. And this is when Sheamus and his friends interrupted. So that is 84 in WWE and 137 overall. Honestly, it's getting ridiculous now. It's like a runaway train. It's never coming back. And Sheamus actually used a Seth Rollins excuse here. He was like, we only lost a week ago because we didn't know Drew McIntyre was your mystery partner. Bush then ran to the ring because he is out of control and he got beaten up. But as I always say, I do think Pete Dunne is doing very well with this gimmick. And then I did die a little bit inside when I realized we were about to do the Brawling Brutes versus the New Day for around about the 922nd time. However, this was entertaining, it was funny, I shall give it an up. And then we were right into that match. And of course, Sheamus, Butch and Ridge Holland won, because WWE is actually obsessed with 50-50 booking. The good guys then beat up Butch for a while because he is smaller than everybody else. This is when Holland got in there and he focused on Woods. And Butch also got his moment where he feels like he's just loaded full of sugar before we got to hog tag #1 to Kofi Kingston. Hit the boom drop on Sheamus, but Butch was there to break it up. And then we just had a bunch of New Day dives. And then they just stood on Alley in the announce table and they started to dance. All these years and I still love it. We then went to the break and when we did return, the Brutes were magically in control, so I'm going to say that Ridge Holland had put a fake moustache under the ring and he put it on and the New Day and Drew didn't realise this was Ridge Holland. They thought he was a fan and then Ridge Holland went ha ha and he punched him in the face. At one point he absolutely squashed Kofi Kingston as well and that did not look fun. A long story short is that eventually Butch did indeed hit the bitter end and the Brawling Brutes got the 1, 2, 3. So it's fine, I enjoyed myself. It does feel like we are trying to fill time because Roman's not going to be back for a while. Giving it up. Quick interview with Riddle and Shinsuke Nakamura after this because they're taking on the Usos later for the Unified Tag Team Championships. I don't understand why we didn't wait 48 hours and do it at Hell in a Cell. But the most interesting part here is one, Riddle was all like, I don't care about that gold, I'm doing it for Randy Orton. When Michael Cole said, well, that's a good point because Randy Orton may never wrestle again. Now, given this was never followed up on, they didn't really talk about his injuries, it could just mean that Randy decided, look, I'm really tired. I just need to go home, so now he's sleeping. I feel ya. And appears then on the phone telling somebody that later on we're going to have a 6-pack challenge to find out who the #1 contender for Ronda Rousey's championship is, and that Ronda came up with this idea. So if you are a friend of Adam Pearce, I would mute your phone. He only wants to talk about work. This is when Max Dupree barged in as well and said, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Next week I'm going to have my first client. And that weird old wrestling rumor mill is saying that this could be Cesaro. And look, I'd be totally cool with that. But where that came from, I have no idea. And then Jinder Mahal defeated Humberto. Of course he did. Now, I really have no idea who I meant to root for in this feud, and it only went 2 minutes, and yes, it was completely constructed around the fact that before the match, Shanky wanted to dance, during the match, Shanky wanted to dance, and after the match, Shanky wanted to dance. And the whole time, Jinder was like, man, I can't stand you wiggling your hips. But nobody actually tells us why. Cole even kept telling us that, man, the fans are so desperate to see Shanky dance. And I'm a fan. I ain't desperate to see anybody dance. Desperate. Like I wake up in the morning like, oh, I need to see you dance, Shanky. If you are doing that, you got a problem. I don't know why Mahal would even care about this, because at one point Shanky's dancing basically distracted the referee, it distracted Humberto, which allowed Jinder to hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, and he got the flubbing win. This was every WWE trope rolled into one, and it's just getting so boring, so it does have to get it down. And after Jinder Mahal had stormed off because he still couldn't handle the fact that Shanky was dancing, Shanky went to Samantha Irvine, the ring announcer. They started to dance. I don't know who this is for. I don't know who wrote it. I don't know who greenlit it. And I do not know how it made it onto TV. And then we got this six-pack challenge next. SmackDown was a little bizarre. Began with Rousey coming to the ring as well as Shotzi, and she was laughing because once again she had locked Aaliyah in the backstage locker room. Can you imagine this happened in any other sport? So let's say it's the Buccaneers versus the Packers at the Super Bowl, and the Packers had like barricaded the Buccaneers' bus, so they weren't able to turn up to the field, so officials just went, oh, well, Green Bay, we'll just give the trophy to you. Bless Pat McAfee as well, who said, well, given that we have footage, she's clearly locked a cameraman and a boom mic operator in there, so that was tremendous. And of course, when this match started, Aaliyah did just appear, and nobody told us how this happened. However, given that this was Shotzi, Aaliyah, Xia Li, who I think hasn't even had a match on SmackDown, even though she got called up months ago, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and Shayna Baszler, they only got 4 minutes. I was a bit like, man, can we not give them a little bit more? All you really need to know is that Raquel had this one after she hit the powerbomb onto Shotzi, but this is when Shayna Baszler snuck in there and she applied the Kira Fuda clutch. And then Natty was back. She saw that somebody was just laying on the floor, so she pinned her to become the #1 contender. I mean, what a lame way to win. So I think this is happening at the pay-per-view, premium live event, but who knows? I have no idea. It just feels so messy at the moment. And you can't argue that this didn't feel rushed, because it definitely felt rushed. However, I did think all of these people worked very, very hard. I'm giving it up. But yeah, seriously, this was too short. Down. Happy Corbin was then promising to murder Madcap Moss if he returned to SmackDown, which is when Madcap Moss returned to SmackDown. He has this new look too, and the goofiness appears to be absolutely gone, but we'll get to that in just 1 minute, because here, an ambulance or a local medical facility wagon pulled up to the arena, and Moss got out the back of it in these new black trunks, and the suspenders are gone. So I was like, has he been living in the ambulance for 3 weeks? Because I don't think that's how it works. Before he did come to the ring, we also learned that Lacey Evans has been moved out to SmackDown. So what the hell is going on there? She was already on SmackDown, then she got moved to Raw, now she's back to SmackDown, and every single week we get told, oh, next week, Lacey Evans is going to have a match. Then we get to next week and someone goes, oh, next week, Lacey's Evans going to have a match. And then we get to next week and so on and so forth. It's got to the point where I'm like, please, just let her have a flubbing fight. Moss was eventually here though, and I thought this was really good stuff because he does have a new serious attitude. He is totally sick of Happy Corbin, Baron Corbin, so much so, he wants him to come out right now so he can beat the crap out of him. Then Corbin was here, he pretended he was going to fight, then he said, haha, no, that's not going to happen. When Adam Pearce went, poof, I have appeared like magic. You are going to have that match and it's going to be right now. And then sure, yes, it did end in a DQ, but here's the thing. WWE does too many of these, but when it shows some patience, it absolutely works, because here, Moss hates Baron Corbin so much that when he tried to hit him with a chair, he got it and he smashed the absolute shit out of him. And you're like, yes, you would do that. This man tried to kill you. You want some revenge. At one point, he was going to crush him with Simba the Steel Steps as well, but this is when officials broke it up. And again, long story short, come Sunday, we are getting Moss versus Baron Corbin in a no-holds-barred match. And this is just so simple. We're not overthinking anything. We're doing everything right with Moss, and we're turning him into a star. He came across like a trooper here. And I really wish sometimes that WWE would apply this to all their storylines, because you can just sit down and enjoy it. That's all I ever need. Up. Usos then told us they are going to win in the main event next, so once again somebody is lying to us, when we were also told next week it's going to be Gunther versus Ricochet for the Intercontinental Championship. Could we not have put this on Hell in a Cell, just given the Intercontinental title a little something something? Apparently not. And yes, we then got to the Usos taking on Riddle and Shinsuke Nakamura, and while it was very entertaining and while it was very good, I kind of do feel like we've gone round the houses with all these tag team shenanigans now. I mean, Riddle versus Randy Orton was great because they had this good relationship, and while I like Shinsuke Nakamura, it's just not the same. I suppose the other problem is this is the last thing we did see before the pay-per-view, premium live event, this weekend, so it almost operated as some kind of standalone adventure. I don't know about you, but when I'm playing an RPG, sometimes I just want to stick to the narrative. The fans were desperate for Riddle to win though, and the story, maybe non-story here, was that halfway through, Shinsuke hurt his knee. Now the referee did the whole, oh, I'm gonna hold the X sign up, and everyone was like, oh, he's hurt for real. But this kind of felt like I was being worked, but I'm not 100% sure. So let's just address it from both angles. Firstly, if Shinsuke Nakamura is hurt, my gosh, please get better soon. But also two, if this was part of the story, bravo WWE, you totally got me. And don't forget, when you do watch wrestling, you're meant to be worked. It doesn't make you an idiot, that's the whole point. There's also a ton of near falls at the end, and even though Riddle was fighting by himself, even I started to go, oh my gosh, he's going to do it. That's because I'm a geek and shouldn't be allowed to do my job. We did make sure to plant some seeds though, because Jimmy and Riddle were tussling on the top. I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so. When all of a sudden Roman Reigns' music started to play, which yes, does tie into this week's intro. Now Riddle actually wasn't that dumb here, because while he did turn like, well, what is that? He was still able to hit the super RKO, but the problem is, this was still a little bit of a distraction. Jay had tagged himself in. From nowhere, he hit the big splash. Pin Riddle for the 1, 2, 3. So surely this has to be it because it just does, although the best bit is we then zoomed to the production truck and we found out that it was Sami Zayn who had done this. He was behind the audio guy and I guess was going, man, you better push play on that Roman Reigns.mp3, otherwise bad things are going to happen. And I really enjoyed that because I've wanted to see that for ages. So many times random music starts playing, this time we had a reason. He ran out to celebrate with his Uso brothers, but eventually Riddle did kick everybody's ass. And surely we just need to build to Riddle versus Roman Reigns. Apparently that wasn't the card at one point, but now we've changed our minds, but it makes all the sense in the world. Although honestly, Riddle versus Sami Zayn would also be good, but we've just seen it so much. However, good hot start, to SmackDown wasn't the start. Which brought us to the end of the show, and it was all right, it was okay. It just kind of feels like apart from Cody and Seth and the Raw Women's Triple Threat match, WWE doesn't really care about this. Now I am going to give it an up because again, for 2 hours I was entertained, but do I feel like WWE has lost some steam? Yes. Now please do leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of SmackDown. Like the video, share the video and subscribe. Head over to WhatCulture.com, make sure you read yourself some articles, including the Ups and Downs article. I don't write it, somebody else does, so maybe you agree with them more than me. Make sure you come follow us on social media and watch more videos, because what else is there to do? My name is Simon WhatCulture. Thank you for joining me as always. Good night. Makes no sense. It's really early in the morning.